In this video, I am very excited to be at the National Motor Museum here at Beaulieu in the very south of England. So we're going to have a full and proper look around. I've been trying to get in here for years. I'm beyond excited. I've never been in there myself, but it is a formidable collection of cars, a museum that has been in existence in various forms since the 1950s. This is going to be a good day. Let's go and see what it's about. So here we are inside the National Motor Museum, and already I am far from disappointed. We have an original blower Bentley, we have a Suzuki Ignis, so I think I really am going to like it here. Now this 1903 de Dion Bouton is one of the most important cars in the collection. It pretty much started the collection. This remarkable vehicle used to work on the estate here in Beaulieu and was put on display when Lord Montague Beaulieu opened up Palace House, which you can see as part of your ticket, to the public, because he realised it costs quite a lot to keep such a property going, and that still goes on today. The museum kind of expanded out of that, this initial car and a few others going on display in the entrance hall of the house, and it grew into what we see as the museum today, this remarkable building built in the 1970s. In fact, it is 50 years since the National Motor Museum in this form opened to the public, so it's anniversary year, and this is where it began. So in this initial entrance hall here we can see the Volkswagen Beetle, representative of how people's cars were so very different. Rear wheel drive, rear engine Beetle, front wheel drive, front engine Mini, and of course the front engine rear wheel drive Anglia here. And then we got things perked up a bit in the 80s with the Cosworth, but that's a slightly different story. A car that gets plenty of attention, and rightly so, devastating in motorsport. But we've got some early bicycles over here. I just want to look at this penny farthing, as we call them, a race bike there. A, how on earth did you get on it? And B, I find it hilarious, it actually has pedal blocks to ensure that the rider can actually reach the pedals. Extraordinary. So various early attempts at moving people before the motor car came along. This is a Fiat from 1899 and a 1913 Fiat Tipo Zero here, and it kind of represents how more car-like cars of the 1910s were. It's very much the horseless carriage era here. Ford Model T sold over 14 million units. The first real serious production car, perhaps. Remarkable things. 2.8 litre 4-cylinder side valve engine. And if you go and check out one of my videos from New Zealand, pardon you, I drove, or didn't drive, I rode in a rail car based on a Model T. So it's, you know, you could do all sorts with that platform. The British mass production car for the masses, the Austin 7, also celebrating a centenary, 1922. And a Hillman Minx. Someone here was telling me that this car was actually someone's first car, and he came to this museum and went, I passed my driving test in that back in the 1970s. A beautiful blower Bentley we saw right at the start, belonged to Lord Montague Beaulieu. It's been used extensively all over the world in various rallies. I'm just going to rush outside because the bus is going past, and it's not as old as it seems. It looks like an old style London bus. Listen to that exhaust note. But apparently it's a Ford truck chassis under that from the sort of 1960s, early 70s. But it's a remarkable bit of engineering nonetheless. It potters around here, transporting people. It's a double-decker. It goes all around. It really does look the part, obviously based on the old London buses, but thankfully with comfortable items like pneumatic tyres that you wouldn't have got on the originals. So yeah, look here, the modern switchgear slightly gives it away, but this does the rounds every day, and only goes out on the actual roads once a year for its MOT. But yeah, fascinating bit of kit, and not the only fascinating bit of transport here. Oh yes, there's a Top Gear display over there as well. The Hilux they smashed up is in there. We aren't going to be filming in there today, but you are most welcome to come and have a look around there as part of your ticket. But yeah, see that monorail up there? Let's see if we can find it again as we head back into the museum. There we go. The monorail goes round the estate here in Beaulieu, and it actually comes through the car museum, which I think is just incredible. It feels a bit James Bond-esque, don't you think? I think that's absolutely lovely. Well, we're jumping ahead. We've just leapt into the main body of the building. We are not done where we were before, so we shall return there right now. Now here's a remarkable thing. This dates from 1875 and is so thought to be the oldest self-propelled passenger-carrying road vehicle still in working order. And I mean it. Look, there's a picture of it back in 2009. It actually does operate from time to time, as quite a lot of the vehicles in this collection do. They're not solely static items. But yeah, early steam cart there, rather rudimentary brakes. Must be an interesting drive. And then we've got a replica of the Benz patent motor wagon from 1886. Obviously it's a much more recent model or recreation thereof. But still eminently fascinating. Here's another ancient vehicle, one of the first purpose-built petrol vehicles to be driven in the UK, and also one of the first to attract a speeding ticket, apparently. It was built by J.F. Knight, or John Henry Knight. He actually got a local engineer to build it for him. It was a tricycle originally, because obviously four wheels gave much more in the way of complication, necessary steering gear and things, but love the springing. That's really cool. I've got a Royal Enfield Quadris cycle, when motorbikes and cars kind of blend a bit, and this is thought to be the oldest Renault in existence. It's from 1899. There is a tiny single cylinder engine in here, which I presume drives the rear wheels. Yeah, that is a fascinating thing. Pennington Autocar is utterly ridiculous. Edward Joel Pennington came up with some very, very weird things over the years. That's just one of his crazy ambitious ideas for vehicle transport. 1901 Columbia Electric is electric powered, as you might expect from the name. So not every horseless carriage went for one of those noisy engines. We've got a Benz Velo over here, 1898, before Mercedes and Benz merged some 28 years later, I believe. You still see the patent motor wagon sign on the side of it. And this is the Cannstatt Daimler. So Gottlieb Daimler went his own way with his early vehicles. This one from 1898. And then we've got a Daimler, a British Daimler. Started off being like the English branch of Daimler in Germany, but soon went its own way. So it was building license-built Daimlers originally, but then started developing its own vehicles. Stay tuned for a second video from here. We're going to go around the collection centre, a fascinating archive, and we may well see a photo of this competing on the 1,000-mile travel in 1900. Now here's a really, really old car that dates from the mid-1990s. It is actually a Land Rover Series 2, believe it or not, but made up to be Mr. Toad's car in an adaptation of Wind in the Willows. That is very nicely done. There's not very much to give the game away on that at all, unless you recognise your Land Rover front axle down there. Now something a bit different about this 1904 Pope Tribune is you can climb into it and imagine what it would be like to drive this early pioneering motor car with what looks like a centre throttle. I presume that's the handbrake there. It yeah, feels very high up and rather exposed, but you are most welcome to come and don your goggles, should you have any, and imagine what it's like to drive a 1904 car. Is that the petrol tank? Yes. Now this is a Napier with a very colourful motoring history. Dates from 1903. It crashed in the first two races it was ever used for, unfortunately, but thankfully it has survived. It was rebuilt at the time. It has a 7.7 litre four-cylinder engine developing about 50 brake horsepower and can do 75 miles an hour, despite the fact it doesn't really have any brakes, none on the front axle at all. We hope to be taking a closer look at that in a future video, so do stay tuned. As you can see, we've still got quite a lot to look at, but if we swing over here, we've got some Formula 1 cars. It's a 2006 McLaren Mercedes MP4 Stroke 21, designed by the legendary Adrian Newey. A Ferrari F310, it's from the 1996 season. We have a replica of the Le Mans winning Jaguar XJR8, and one of my favourites, an Allard here. Sidney Allard is the only man to have won the Monte Carlo Rally in a car bearing his own name, and very lightweight bodywork, but a massive Cadillac V8 engine to make them go hilariously quickly. Yes, very much a performance machine. But we've got a couple of trials machines down here, a Dello over there, and often with fiddle brakes to get them around trials courses all the more easily. Continuing up here, more Formula 1 cars. So here we've got the Williams Renault FW18. I think Damon Hill, did he win the championship in that car? I think he did. A Lotus E20 from 2012, and then the McLaren Peugeot MP49. So Martin Brundle drove that one, and Mika Hakkinen. We've got other race cars as well, little Cooper over there, the Brm V16. If you watch the Goodwood footage from this year, they had a Brm V16 in one of the races, and the noise from this 1.5 litre V16 quad cam engine, extraordinary. And it produced 600 brake horsepower at 12,000 RPM. Absolutely insane bit of engineering. Lotus 49, driven by Jim Clark back in the day. A Connaught, another great British sports car manufacturer whose name has rather disappeared over the years. It's a new arrival. This L3 SR, a genuine AC Cobra with big fat arches, and I love it, the fact it's got Morris Minor indicator side light units. Definitely approving of that. If you want to sit and pretend you're in a race car, you can do that here. So, oh yes, the British steam car just over the back here. It's a steam car. It achieved 155 miles an hour. And over here we've got famous people you may have heard of. Have you heard of Graham Hill and his son Damon? You may have done. Steering wheels through the ages, Lewis Hamilton's overalls and helmet. It's quite a collection. Over here, some earlier race cars, Sunbeam 3 litre, Bugatti Type 35, such an iconic car with its age, these magnesium alloy wheels, overhead cam engines, 100 brake horsepower from 2 litres, was pretty tasty for that time. And another lovely item that's been in the collection since this museum opened in 1972. It's a half-scale Sunbeam Cub. It's fully functioning. You can see all the cables, the steering controls, the drum brakes. It was built by Sunbeam specially for the Duke of Kent, I believe it was. And there he is, being presented with it in 1972. And then we've got a Morgan 44 Le Mans. Oh, okay. It was prepared for the Le Mans 24 Hour in 1938. Miss Prudence Fawcett and co-driver Jeffrey White finished in 13th place overall. Not bad. This is a racing Lancia from 1910. Extraordinary thing. Look how low slung it is. A wonderful racer. Early Vauxhall, the famous Prince Henry with these very, very iconic Vauxhall bonnet flutes, used as styling cues in later Vauxhalls for a time. And we've got a Munich taxi here from France, a Renault from 1906. It's a fair bit bigger than the other Renault. Someone's fitted a windscreen wiper. That's not very age appropriate, but I do like windscreen wipers. Austin 12. We should have some Austin 12 content coming for you soon. And this remarkable fire engine, built on a Gobron Brilli fire engine. The basic car dates from 1907, and then later on, around 1910, it was turned into a fire engine for a private estate, not Beaulieu as it happens, but it has been used here and demonstrated that all the kit works over time. So yeah, quite remarkable bit of kit. Just noticed that this fine collection of automobilia includes several impressive windscreen wipers and spark plugs. There are also motorbikes aplenty, of which I know very little, but that's a chopper based on an Ariel Square 4. Remarkable engine. It's like two parallel twins with gear drive together, and even more bonkers seeing it in chopper form. Got Ronda to Honda. Steph Jevons rode this 74,000 miles through 54 countries. That's quite an impressive undertaking. That was in 2014, and yeah, astonishing. When you look at some of the countries she went to, that's incredible. America, Africa, Nicaragua, Serbia. Been there. Yeah, that's impressive. All the more impressive for its 250cc. And two doctors rode around the world on this. The Bear. Apparently they did that in the late 1990s. Wow. Imagine pillion riding that. 100,000 miles. No, thank you. We've got some very old bikes as well. Very early Norton, 1912. Royal Enfield from 1914. Such simple machines back then. Variety of racing machinery, sidecars. Yeah. Trials bikes. There's a lot going on. You probably know more about these than I do, to be honest. Ducati, I've heard of them, they're sporty. Suzuki do not just make cute 4x4s. Yeah, it's an astonishing collection. More early bikes, cutaway on this one showing the single cylinder engine. The old Vincent Black Shadow. Norton Dominator, such powerful names. Military bikes as well. And over this way we've got more early motorbikes. The Scott Flying Squirrel. The Ariel Square 4, that's what they actually look like. Because suspension on this Royal Enfield. And that's why Ariel developed the Square 4, because otherwise you've got a very long set of cylinders going on there, haven't you? Wooler, I've never heard of Wooler, 1920. Wow. ABC scooter motor. Oh, I love it. But I think to a non-biker, or maybe even to bikers as well, the Honda CBX 1000 has got to be one of the more interesting. It's a transverse 6-cylinder motorbike. Look at 3 exhausts each side. It's incredible. Twin cam engine. What was it? It was 105 horsepower from a 1-litre engine at 9,000 RPM. Good grief. That is staggering. So this is the world of land speed cars. This 1,000 horsepower Sunbeam has 2 massive engines, which we shall see momentarily. This is one of the many Bluebirds, but this one was the fastest wheel-driven car, and it's absolutely enormous. I'm still walking alongside it. There we go, the Proteus Bluebird CN7, 1960/62, and it managed to go 403 miles an hour. So it's got a jet turbine powering those rear wheels, I believe. And this one actually belongs to the British Science Museum. And then we've got the Irving Napier Special Golden Arrow here. It's got a 23-litre aeroplane engine, the classic Napier Lion with the it's like a W engine. It's got 3 banks of 6, I think. It's utterly remarkable. How fast did he go in this one? 231 miles an hour. Wow. Here's another land speed car, the Sunbeam Bluebird. That name had a longer life than with Malcolm Campbell. It's got a 350 horsepower, 18-litre Sunbeam Manitou aero engine. And how fast did this one manage to go? 150 miles an hour. There's one of several surviving Jaguar XK8 Bond cars there. They do currently have a Bond exhibition on, but that's coming to an end fairly soon. And I would like to give a shout out for the little tug there, which has been working in this museum since 1972. And it would be very remiss of me not to mention it. This isn't a real Chitty Bang Bang, by the way. It is a very good replica. But they have actually got one of the original 6 film cars here as well. But Colin McRae's Ford Focus WRC car. What a life that must have had. And honorary wiper mention for the Porsche 917K. Look, 2 separate wiper blades on these very curious, very successful racing cars. Just going to have a quick look at the information. It was raced during the 70 and 71 seasons, appeared in the Stephen McQueen film Le Mans, crashed during filming while being driven by David Piper. Oh dear. So it's got a 5-litre horizontally opposed 12 quadruple overhead camshaft, 630 horsepower, 8,300 RPM. Mostly I'm interested in the windscreen wiper. I must admit, we've got an original Lotus Elite, a glass fibre monocoque in the background there. Again, got some very interesting Lotus stuff coming up in the collections video, so do pay attention for that. And an Allard Chrysler dragster, back in the days where you sat behind the engine, sort of hanging over the rear wheels. Yeah, not sure I fancy that very much. We'll do over 170 miles an hour apparently. We've got Hanno Mikkela's Audi Quattro there, and Mark II Escort, and yeah, these were absolutely brilliant. Ari Vatenen drove this car to second place on the 1981 RAC Rally, which is no mean feat at all. And yeah, the noise these things make, absolutely astonishing. He's a co-driver, David Richards. I presume that is the Dave Richards who went on to form Pro Drive, who developed rally cars for Subaru, amongst many other things. Original Ford GT40, one of that's done a bit of racing at Goodwood over the years, early E-Type, 1962. So it's still from the first year of production pretty much. And it replaced the XK150 here, which is the last of the XK line. Jensen Interceptor, absolute beauty. Lotus Esprit with a Peter Stevens facelift, the same man who styled the MG, ZS, ZR and ZT body kits. As you can hear, there's a Bond exhibition in the background. You may have noticed it. But there are ever-changing exhibitions going on here. But pantograph wiper moment. And then the beautiful all-burnt Speedster. For my money, one of the most beautiful cars to ever come out of America. So then you get to walk over to Jack Tucker's workshop, a recreation of a 1930s garage. And there's a parts store, all the bits of car, a bit of a general store going on. And then as you walk around, you walk into the main workshop. There's a lathe over to the left that's running. There's a blacksmith's forge where stuff could have been made. There's a Calcott, I think it is, car, very rare manufacturer. And just the smell of engineering is all around. And as we go outside, there's a sadly very smashed up bullnose Morris. It was written off on its way back from the Netherlands, and it's displayed in its written off crashed form. Yeah, being picked up by the wrecker. As we come around the corner, hiding in this pile of scrap is an old Gregoire French car. Very early, very, very poor condition, sadly. Entirely as found. I absolutely love this Comma Auto Sleeper. I had a Bedford CF which had the very similar roof thing going on, but look at all the stuff they've packed into it. Scott's Oats, Watney's Brown Ale, the torch with a big battery on it. Yeah, some lovely stuff in there. Absolutely delightful. The Outspan Orange is one of the more famous cars they have here. I wonder if that'll pop up on another YouTuber's channel. We'll have to wait and see. Daimler TL30 Bottle. It was used by Bass Worthington until 1958. Wow. It was purchased in the early 1920s based on Daimler 30 horsepower car chassis. Brilliant. Oh, the old Brush Pony electric milk float. You steer with this big handle here. There's an AEC RT bus. She's very nice. I think you're allowed to actually go on the bus and have a bit of a mooch around. A Bean, short 14 here. So Bean, one of many, many British manufacturers that kind of vanished over the years. An Albion lorry. I think they came from Scotland way. Yeah, Glasgow. Morris Cowley with a bull nose, very classic shape. And a Trojan. Trojans are fascinating cars. They just didn't do things like anyone else. It has solid rubber wheels. It has a horizontal engine under the floor, which apparently only has 7 moving parts. Quite unlike anything else, utterly remarkable things. But one of the more fascinating cars in the collection is this Datsun. The Datsun Type 14. It was bought by Austin so they could see what those crafty Japanese were up to. Apparently it was sold in Australia and then it was shipped over here for evaluation. And it ended up with Nissan at some point. It found its way back to the parent company and was donated to this collection later on. So yeah, there we go, Datsun in the headlamps, little Datsun hubcaps. Weirdly, it has a fake glove box on the dashboard, it doesn't actually open. Yeah, interesting history of that car. Bought by Austin to see what the competition was up to. Over here, oh, first of all, we've got a Worsley 680 engine sectioned, overhead cam engine. Very, very interesting. Replaced by the C series overhead valve engine. That's progress for you. A Brough Superior and a Norton here. BSA AA combination, lovely. Morris Minor van with an Austin A35 van behind it. Harrod's electric van. Harrod's had a fleet of 60 of these electric vans working in London. They were absolutely ahead of their time. This dates from the 1930s. I believe, there we go, 1939. Wow, so they started using electric vans for deliveries in 1919. So, and built these themselves in their own workshops, having learnt lessons with the Walker electric vans they had bought from America. Here's the Austin A35 van, astonishing. And early Reliant van, one of those classic drove into the back of a motorbike outfits with the Austin derived 747cc side valve engine originally, I believe. Oh, and I must take in these beautiful Leyland bonnet mascot recreations done in glass. Leyland, one of the famous manufacturers of glass items. They're absolutely stunning. Well, it'd be rude not to, really. Let's go aboard an Aec Regent London Bus, as they were. It's just like, yeah. Lovely multi-function screens. But here is the driving position. The big red knob is your indicators. Huge handbrake. I don't know what the gear system was on these RTs. Presumably a 4-speed manual. I wonder if that little knob on the gear lever controlled that. This is actually the door. This tiny little door for the driver to hop in and out. An interesting driving position right next to the big 6-cylinder engine. But is that... Oh, that's beautiful. Winding windows. I didn't know they had winding windows. How did I not know they had winding windows? But yeah, we're off. We've reached our destination. We are off. The mighty RT. What a beautiful bus. The RT's eventually replaced by the Routemaster. That's just lovely. Some more interesting vehicles here. Hopefully tomorrow we will be driving this Austin Clifton Heavy 12. To me, this is gumdrop. Absolutely love it. And over here we've got the comparison, the Jeep and the Jeep inspired Land Rover. Can you believe this inspired that? Perhaps you can just about see the similarities. This is actually one of the oldest surviving Land Rovers. It's a pre-production model. It's even older than Huey 166, the first Land Rover. And yeah, extraordinary. It's in beautiful condition. It's got the pickup style half canvas on it. Looks absolutely lovely. And this Willys Jeep from 1943 took part in the Normandy landings of June 1944. Somehow survived. And we will be driving that in a future video, we hope, as well. All good times. And I must sweep round here. We've got this delicious Caravan. This was built for Princess Anne and Prince Charles, now King Charles, way back in the 1950s. The Caravan and Motorhome Club commissioned Roll Along of Ringwood to build this remarkable thing. If you want to see more on this, look out for the channel Not a White Box. Cameron has done a beautiful little video on this tiny little Caravan that could have been made perfectly for Miss Hubnut. Ford Anglia the old sit up and begs type. This is their newish sort of post-war design, but it's very pre-war under the skin, to be honest. And a lovely Rover 14, a delightful car for hire, just 30 shillings a day, I think that is. Wow. And the Leyland Clock. These were actually put out by Leyland in various sites around the UK, 6 of them. It's got, you know, lovely clock workings inside it, and yeah, they were in various places around the UK. This one was on display on the A1 at Alconbury in Cambridgeshire. So yeah, that's just beautiful. And that's what I love. It's not just about the cars, it's about the social history. But we've still got more to see. Let's go back upstairs. So this is one of the original film cars for Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which of course links to James Bond down there, because Ian Fleming wrote the book, Cubby Broccoli produced the film with the screenplay by Roald Dahl. I do like Roald Dahl ever so much. So this car later had an engine fitted. It was just a shell for filming, but it is actually a running vehicle these days. And if we sweep over here, a gorgeous little Austin 7 Swallow. So Swallow Sidecars is the company that became Jaguar, and they began life by making rather marvellous bodywork for ordinary cars. Well, and sidecars, unsurprisingly. But yeah, fabulous. Look at the fresh air, ventilation horns, the rakish windscreen. Beautiful bit of design, which hinted at what was to come. Oh, don't you worry, we'll be getting over there. But first we're going to sweep around this way. The Whisper Mascot, a very special mascot on this Rolls Royce. Shh, we don't know why. Eleanor Thornton was involved. Talbot 105, which also seems to have the thermostatic vents on the grille, and also seems to have indicator arrows. Very, very interesting. Talbot 105, a very fine car. Over here, Sunbeam Talbot 90 Mark II. These are lovely, sorry, Mark IIA. Lovely, beautiful cars. Very fine sort of sporting saloon. Had moderate success in the world of rallying. Standard Vanguard, Beetle back. We've got a Riley RMB here. Now, I love this car because it was actually bodied not by Riley themselves. They did build them, but it had some modifications done by a company in Switzerland and was then sold to New Zealand. It has the sticker in the window, just like my Aussie Ford Fairmont sitting outside in the car park. Austin A90 Atlantic, the car that was meant to be Austin's big hope in America, but flops due to its 4-cylinder engine, despite them hurling chrome at it with gay abandon. Very early Morris Minor, still with a side valve engine. Ford Consul Cortina, beautiful early Mark I with bench seats. I think this one's got a column gear change as well. And the Crosley Streamline is a remarkable looking machine. How fascinating is that? We've got a little cutaway Ford Pinto here as well. Very, very nice. That's a remarkable bit of design. No, I'm not talking to you. Go away. Austin A40 Farina. It's a Countryman, so it is the Super Mini Volkswagen Golf GTI. Rightly iconic. We've got a Mark I Ford Consul, the first car to use those McPherson strut springs, and unregistered, very late Rover 75 facelift. Triumph Herald. Really must get a video done on one of those. Oh look, got full of period delights. A very early Reliant Regal, launched in 1952. This one built in 1953, donated to the museum by Reliant when Reliant still existed. So that's very nice to see. Little Hillman Imp. This is thought to be the oldest, the first production car. Chassis number 6 was used heavily for promotional work. I've got an Amphi car here. A little Mini from 1959, first year of production. Rover P6, Ford Capri. But now we are really getting into oh, here comes the monorail again, the really interesting stuff. This 2CV dates from I think it was October 1986. It's got the RP number printed on the windscreen there, 3619. Never been registered, never been driven. So yeah, that's extraordinary that it has never seen any use at all, far contrast to mine. Only a few months difference between that car and mine. Volkswagen Xl1, I've driven one of those, you can find that test on my channel. That car is now in the Lane Motor Museum. But I've created this view at home because I have an Invacar, and I parked an Xl1 next to my Invacar, and in fact it is Took on here. Hello Took. I supplied this photo, and yeah, this has been in storage for a long time. It's finally out and on display. It has the tiller steering setup for one-handed control. Be very intrigued to actually try driving it. I don't know if this one was owned privately or if this was one of the government ones. Would be very interested to know, but it's lovely to see it out. So thank you, Beaulieu, for getting that one out. Maybe one day it can meet Took. I mean, I'm wearing my own Invacar t-shirt for a reason. Sinclair C5, we've driven one of those. I've never driven a PLP 50 on camera. I would like to correct that wrong. That would be a very interesting experience indeed. But I think this is probably where we're going to wrap this video up. But yeah, you need to come and see this place for yourself. The cars change. Sometimes cars have been driven outside. They do startups from time to time. Yeah, it's a must-see museum. It's a fascinating place. It's the back of the amphicarcass propellers. So I shall say thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to head to the Hubnut store should you wish to buy lovely Took t-shirts, and I shall see you in a future video. Farewell. Oh, Miss Took. A remarkable selection of books on automotive themes. Look at this, it's a proposal of not just road signs, but also steering wheels. There are even toys in here. Miss Hubnut would love this, look at that.